Hi guys, it's David from Automotive Press. Guess what? I have a 2025 Crown Signia, which is built in Japan at the Tsutsumi plant, where Priuses and Camrys are also built. Crown nameplate, a huge deal for me because I grew up in Japan. This thing is, one of the most important brands for me anyway. But coming to North America, we lost the Crown emblem, which is a bit of a shame, but they said that they might think about it. I've been talking to chief engineer and some of the support staff and told them having the Crown emblem is really important. Regardless, let's take a quick look and see how this Crown Signia is in terms of manufacturing quality. You guys know I do my usual quality check. Again, it should be really well made, being built in a very proven plant in Tsutsumi plant. 3.8 millimeter there, 3.5, complete flush, really very consistent. We're in San Diego, so the metal is almost too hot to touch. 3.5, pretty well standard, I think, in terms of the gap, 3.4 and 3.8. So the gaps are about the same as I would expect any other Toyota models in this price range. Maybe not quite as tight as something like the 4Runner coming out of the Tahara plant. That one is about 3 millimeter. And for that matter, the RAV4 Prime that we own, which is built in Takaoka plant, had a 3.1 millimeter gap. So a little bit different, but in terms of things lining up, all the gas cap and everything lining up, all the edges, looks fantastic. And this copper color is beautiful. Lots of metallic, clear coat, almost no orange peel. The paint job is as good as what you will find in cars costing twice or three times as much. The metal finish is really good. Spectacular in terms of exterior design, exterior quality. And I just love the fact that we have basically a station wagon version of the Crown, which is called Estate in Japan because Estate means wagon. Here in North America, they don't want to call it wagon, so it is officially SUV. Not quite sure about the name Signia, but I like the proportion. I love the styling of it. And I'm going to talk about the driving and interior fit and finish as well. So follow me and let's take it for a drive. All right, guys, so I'm now in the Crown Signia driving. And just keep in mind, there are 4 types of Crown. 2 of them we get, 2 of them we don't get. So there is a Crown Signia, which is the one I'm driving now. We have the Crown Sedan, which is called a Crown Crossover in Japan. And then also in Japan, they have a Crown Sport, which kind of looks like a Porsche Macan. We're not supposed to get that one. I'm hoping that we will get the Crown Sport because I think that's the best looking Crown. And then there's also a Crown Sedan, which here it's confusing because we call it Crown Sedan, which refers to the kind of a crossover type one. But in Japan, there's a sedan, which is based on Mirai platform. So that one is also not coming here. And therefore, the 3 out of the 4 Crowns are built in the same factory in Japan at the Tsutsumi plant on the same line. But the 4th one, the Crown Sedan, which I think is actually a beautiful sedan, is built in Motomachi plant because it shares a platform with the Mirai. So that's a quick brief history. As you guys know, I grew up in Japan, loving the Crown brand because that was the flagship Toyota. This is before Lexus, and so I still have etched in my memory kind of beautiful, inspirational experience looking at the Crown or driving or being driven inside a Crown. And so for me, the Crown name is significant. But I feel like in transitioning to this Crown nameplate for North America, we've lost some of that inspirational touch, the feel, because we don't even have the Crown emblem anymore attached to this vehicle. And so it kind of feels like any other Toyota model when you're driving this vehicle. It doesn't feel as special. Granted, it's smooth, it's refined. The 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine with a hybrid is predictable, but it feels very similar to what you might experience in a Venza or even a RAV4 hybrid. And of course, it feels a little bit more upscale, it's smoother and refined and so forth. But I think it lost a bit of that special feel that Crown name used to have, and that's probably the only downside to this whole introduction of a Crown nameplate. But just in terms of general, the engine works well. This is a new gen hybrid system. It works better than any other hybrid system out there. It's very peppy, it's quiet. I step on it and you know what, it's not bad. Acceleration is very reasonable. I wish there was a plug-in hybrid or the 2.4 turbocharged hybrid as an option on this one, but we don't have that. but it suits well with the basic feel of this vehicle, which is kind of low profile SUV. This is honestly more of a station wagon than SUV, but the word wagon doesn't do very well in North American language, so we're calling it SUV, or in this case Signia, but this is definitely a station wagon. In Japan it's called a Crown Estate. Estate means wagon, and to me actually wagon is amazing. It sits a little bit lower, it's obviously better handling in terms of center of gravity being low and so forth, so I really like the wagon concept, but officially it's an SUV. The steering is light, about the same as the Crown sedan, which is one of my complaints. I just want a bit more feedback from the road, but it's predictable, it's reasonably agile, and it just feels like a flagship Toyota, but doesn't feel like a Crown to me. That's sort of my basic conclusion. But passengers will enjoy a quiet, serene feel. No one's going to complain about this vehicle. I think it is a better car than a Venza in the sense that it feels a bit more upscale. I'll talk about the interior finish and stuff a little bit later on, but just in terms of driving, it's exactly what you expect from a kind of high-end Toyota SUV with this 2.5 liter naturally aspirated hybrid system. No surprises here. Let's hope for a plug-in hybrid or some other powertrain being offered in the future, but then that could really transform this vehicle to something else. So let's talk about the interior, and then let me show you what's going on. Okay, so now I've stepped into the Crown Signia interior. This is pretty well what you expect from the Crown series. They all have the same interior, 12.3 inches digital cluster, 12.3 inches over here as well. Pretty well standard fare. But I'm looking for the manufacturing quality right now in terms of what it might be like. So I'm going to do my usual punch test and see if there's anything is loose. Everything feels really tight, no squeaks or rattle when I was driving over a bumpy road. And the gaps and everything, really good. All the parts and components fit well. Even this part, even this vent has a nice texture to it, a bit of a grit to it, almost like a light sandpaper. We get buttons here as well. A bit of a bronze finish here, but it's a pretty subtle design compared to, let's say, something you might find in the Korean products like a Genesis or even the Hyundai have a really fancy interior these days. So they're keeping it like a business-like, that's what I'm calling it, minimalist. Simple, just a bit of a gloss black here and some bronze accents, and otherwise it's a functional interior with the buttons for everything, including radio, so I appreciate that. I like the fact that this also has a drop-in section for phone wireless charging. You just drop it in and it kind of stays there instead of flat type, which moves around a bit. So you get your normal USBs and really deep, big cup holders, so that's really good as well. Over here on the door side, this is thankfully not hard plastic, semi-soft, or semi-hard I should say, and quality looks good. Again, I wish there was a little bit more contrast. They don't use wood anymore in most Toyota products, they just moved on from that, but in a Crown, again, growing up in Japan, looking at Crowns from the past, I wish they had a bit of a wood. I think it would have been appropriate for the Crown name, but in terms of design and engineering, and also in terms of basic fit and finish, absolutely first class. This is built in Japan at the Tsutsumi plant. It's the same plant that produces the Prius and also the Camry actually, and it's really well made. I like the seats, are very comfortable, good side support as well. Stitching and everything looks really good. So quality overall is excellent, as I would expect from a Crown that's produced in Japan, and it's also extremely comfortable inside. But in terms of overall design, I wish it was a bit fancier to go along with the Crown nameplate. All right, so what do I really think of the Crown Signia? Well, first of all, I'm happy that the Crown nameplate is here in North America. I love the nameplate. I want the emblem though, Toyota, so please bring that back to North America as well. But you know what, the way I think of it is that the Crown is like perhaps a better, more agile version of the Lexus RX. If I compare this to the RX, about the same price range. This one I think drives better. It's sportier looking, more beautiful from my perspective. So that's my sort of basic comparison, but also keep in mind that you're in the same price range as, let's say, a Highlander. And if you pay just a little bit more, you can get the Grand Highlander. So if you want practicality and lots of space in 3-row seats, then I might have to overlook this one and go for the Highlander, which I think is probably a better, more practical solution. But if you want something unique, a little bit different, you want the Crown nameplate, you want the flagship feel to it, and you also like the fact that this is more of a wagon than SUV because it's low in terms of height and it drives really well, then Crown Signia holds a very special and a unique spot in the market, mainly, once again, because of this Crown nameplate, which I just absolutely cherish and love. So I hope you enjoyed my video. I know that there's a lot more to talk about the Crown and many other models. That's all coming up in my channel. I would appreciate if you can give me a thumbs up, make some comments, and if you haven't done so yet, would you also kindly subscribe. Until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.